Long ago, in the quiet village of Obohia, where red earth met the sky and children danced beneath mango trees, there lived a humble couple named Obina and Ngozi. They were known throughout the village for their kindness, even though they had no children of their own. Ngozi prayed every day beneath the great baobab tree, whispering her wishes to the ancestors, asking for just one child to call her own. One dry season evening, as the wind carried dust and silence across the village, an old woman arrived. Her back was bent like a question mark, and her eyes sparkled like moonlit rivers. She wore a faded wrapper patterned with ancient symbols and held a staff carved with the heads of lions and turtles. "Who is she?" the villagers whispered. Ngozi, ever kind, welcomed the stranger into their compound. "Come in, Mama. Rest your bones and share our fire." The old woman smiled. "I am Zubida. I go where the spirits send me." That night, after they shared roasted yam and bitter leaf soup, Zubaydah looked deep into Ngozi's eyes. "You will bear twins," she said. "Girls, but they will be born with hunchbacks." Ngozi's hand trembled. "Hunchbacks? Spirits forbid. Do not fear," Zubaydah said gently. "Though the world may see them as cursed, the spirits know them as chosen. One will carry the light of healing, the other, the fire of vision. But beware." She leaned closer. "A time will come when one sister may betray the other. It will break your heart if you're not strong." Before Ngozi could speak, the old woman stood and vanished into the night like mist. No one ever saw her again. Months passed, and just as Zubaydah said, Ngozi became pregnant. Obina was both shocked and joyful. He carved cradles by hand, and neighbors came with gifts and songs. But deep in her heart, Ngozi remembered the warning. When her time came, the village gathered outside their home. Drums beat slowly as the midwife called out, "A girl!" Moments later, "Another girl!" Obina came out with tears on his face. "Twins! We are blessed." But the joy quickly faded when the midwife stepped outside, cradling two tiny babies whose backs were slightly arched like bows. A hush fell over the village. Some gasped, others turned away. Whispers spread like wildfire. "They are cursed. This is a bad sign. These children will bring misfortune." But Ngozi, weak but full of love, held her daughters close. "Their names are Chima and Kamara, God knows, and Moonlight. They are my blessings." Obina forced a smile, though his eyes held fear. As the villagers dispersed, shaking their heads, Ngozi whispered to her babies, "You are not a curse. You are light. You are love." The sky rumbled as thunder rolled across the distant hills. No rain came, only wind. And in that wind, a voice whispered through the trees, "The chosen have arrived." From that day, the twins grew under the shadow of suspicion. Children avoided them. Mothers clutched their babies tighter when they passed. But Chima and Kamara, different as they looked, shared a bond stronger than the strongest iron. And though the village feared them, something ancient watched from beyond the trees, waiting for the moment the prophecy would begin to unfold. Chima and Kamara grew older. The whispers of the villagers only grew louder. "They bend like broken branches," some would mutter. "They carry the curse," others would say, shaking their heads as the girls passed. Children in the village refused to play with them. At the river, the girls were told not to draw water near others. At the market, traders would sometimes hide their goods. Even the village herbalist, once friendly to all, crossed the road when he saw them coming. But in the quiet of their home, Ngozi did everything she could to protect her daughters. She told them bedtime stories about warriors who were once mocked but became kings. She braided their hair with cowrie shells and painted their palms with bright earth clay, telling them they were royalty in disguise. Obina, their father, was all not so strong. As time went on, he became quiet, then distant, then cold. "They are not like us," he once muttered to Ngozi. "People fear them. It's dangerous." "They are our blood," Ngozi replied fiercely. "They are special." One evening, as the orange sun sank behind the hills, the girls sat under the baobab tree, their usual hiding place from the village children. Kamara, the gentler of the two, hummed softly while weaving a flower crown. Chima stared ahead in silence, her eyes sharp and distant. "Why don't they like us?" Kamara asked. Chima didn't answer at first. "Because they fear what they don't understand." Kamara sighed. "Mama says we're special." "She says that," Chima replied, "but the world doesn't see it." Suddenly, a stone flew from the bushes and struck Kamara's shoulder. "Ow!" she cried, dropping the flowers. From behind the tree, a boy named Ikenna stepped out, laughing cruelly. "Go back to the forest where cursed spirits belong." Chima stood quickly, her eyes burning. "Leave us alone!" "Or what?" Ikenna mocked. "You'll bend me with your cursed back?" Kamara pulled Chima's arm, but Chima didn't move. She stepped forward and raised her hand. A gust of wind swept through the trees, sudden and violent. Ikenna stumbled back, eyes wide, with fear. Then he turned and ran. Kamara was trembling. "What just happened?" "I don't know," Chima said softly. "I just wanted him to stop." That night, the story spread like wildfire, how the Hunchback girls used dark powers to attack a boy. The next day, the village chief called Obina and Ngozi to the meeting square. "These girls are disturbing the peace," the chief said sternly. "Some say they speak to spirits." Obina lowered his head in shame. Ngozi stepped forward. "They are only children," she said. "They were defending themselves." "Even so," an elder woman added, "they are different. And difference brings danger." The chief pounded his staff into the ground. "If anything else happens, we will have no choice but to drive them from the village." Later that night, Chima sat alone, staring into the fire. "Do you think we really are cursed?" she asked. Kamara took her hand. "No, but even if we are, we have each other." Ngozi knelt beside them. "You are not cursed. You are strong. The world fears strength that does not bow." But in Chima's heart, a storm was already beginning to form. She had tasted power, just a glimpse, and part of her liked it. Far away, beyond the village borders in the darkest part of the sacred forest, something stirred. A spirit, long forgotten, whispered her name through the trees. "Chima," and though no one heard it, the wind carried a warning through Obohia. The bond will be tested. The morning after the chief's warning, the air in Obohia was tense. Women drew their children closer. Men stood in small groups whispering, casting sideways glances at the home of Ngozi and Obina. The fear of the unknown had grown stronger than the bonds of community. Ngozi could feel it in her bones. Something terrible was coming. That evening, as the sun dipped low and shadows stretched like fingers across the village, Ngozi made a decision. She packed some dried plantain, water, and herbs into a woven basket and quietly woke the girls. "We must go," she whispered. "Where?" Kamara asked, rubbing her eyes. "To the sacred forest," Ngozi replied. "It is the only place the villagers fear more than they fear you. And that means it is the only place we'll be safe." Obina stood in the doorway, his eyes filled with guilt, but his mouth silent. He didn't stop them. He didn't even say goodbye. And so, under the cloak of night, the three of them slipped into the forest, leaving behind everything they had ever known. The sacred forest was thick and alive. The trees were ancient, their trunks wide and gnarled, like clenched fists. Strange glowing insects danced in the air, and distant owl cries echoed through the canopy. As they walked deeper into the forest, Chima felt something strange. The whispers in the trees seemed to call her name. "Did you hear that?" she asked. Kamara shook her head. "Only wind." But Chima was certain it was more than wind. It was like a voice, low, hissing, ancient. After hours of walking, they reached a clearing with a round hut made of clay and palm leaves. Smoke drifted from the thatched roof. An old man with milky white eyes sat on a wooden stool near the fire, grinding herbs with a mortar and pestle. He looked up before they even spoke. "I've been expecting you," he said. Ngozi stepped forward, cautiously. "Who are you?" "My name is Ekena," he said. "This is not just a forest. It is a place of spirits, of memories, of ancient truth. Your daughters belong here." Chima and Kamara looked at each other, uncertain. Ngozi hesitated, but something about the old man felt safe. "I knew their names before they were born," Ekena continued, not looking at them. "Chima, she who sees beyond. Kamara, she who shines in the dark. Two souls bound by fate. But fate is not always kind." They stayed with Ekena. From that day on, he built them a shelter beside his, and each day he taught the girls the ways of the forest. They learned how to mix herbs to heal wounds, how to listen to the rhythm of the earth, and how to speak to the spirits through songs and silence. Kamara was gentle and quick to learn the healing arts. The forest seemed to embrace her. But Chima was different. She was curious, hungry for more. She asked questions Ekena did not always answer. She wandered deeper into the woods than she should have. And at night, she would sit alone, staring into the fire, feeling something inside, her stir like a storm waiting to break. One evening, Ekena sat with Ngozi as the girls slept. "They are strong," she said. "Yes," Ekena replied. "But strength can lead to light, or to shadow. One walks the path of peace. The other, I fear she is hearing the call of something darker." Ngozi's face tensed. "What do we do?" Ekena looked up at the stars. "We wait, we teach, we love, but we must be ready." In the distance, a cold wind rustled the trees, and again, a whisper came, soft as silk, sharp as a blade. "Chima." The forest had welcomed them. But not all that lived in the forest had pure intentions. The days in the sacred forest flowed gently, like a calm river after a storm. The twins had adjusted to their new life under Ekena's watchful care. Kamara smiled more often now. Her hands, once shy and trembling, now moved with certainty when applying herbal pastes or chanting sacred songs. Even the animals of the forest would come close to her, unafraid. But Chima's path was different. She often wandered alone, drawn to the farthest corners of the forest, where the trees grew thicker and the shadows fell deeper. While Kamara found joy in healing, Chima found wonder in the unknown, things that whispered to her from beneath the soil, from inside the wind. One morning, as Kamara crushed medicinal leaves into a paste for a wounded antelope, she noticed something strange. Her hands glowed faintly, and as she touched the wound, it began to close faster than normal. The antelope stood, blinked at her, and ran into the trees, healed. Kamara gasped. "Ekena!" The old man came over, his blind eyes twinkling as he touched the spot where the glow had been. "Ah, it has begun. The gift of healing lives in you, child. But do not fear it. Use it wisely." Kamara beamed, finally feeling she had a purpose, beyond her pain. But Chima was not pleased. That night she sat beside the fire, staring into it with eyes full of smoke and thoughts. "What about me?" she whispered. Ekena turned slowly. "Your gift is not hers, and hers is not yours." Chima frowned. "Then what is mine?" "Sight," he said. "The ability to see what others cannot." That night, Chima's dreams shifted. She saw flashes, lightning strikes in the mind, a blackbird flying over a burning village, her sister crying, her mother's voice calling out. She woke up sweating, heart pounding. From then on, the dreams became more frequent. Some were beautiful, others terrifying, but all felt real. She tried to share them with Kamara. "That's strange," Kamara said gently. "Maybe it's just your thoughts?" "No," Chima snapped. "They are visions. I know it. I feel them." Kamara nodded slowly. "Okay, I believe you." But something inside Chima whispered, "She doesn't understand you. She never will." And the whisper stayed. One evening, as Chima wandered near the edge of the forest, far from their huts, she stumbled into a circle of blackened trees. The air was colder there. The silence was different, heavy. Listening. A voice spoke. "You seek power, Chima." She turned quickly. No one was there. "Who are you?" she asked. "I am the one who sees your pain," the voice replied, smooth as honey but sharp like a spear. "The one who knows you were never chosen, only overshadowed." Chima swallowed hard. "Why should I trust you?" "Because I can give you what they won't. Power, respect, freedom." A shadowy figure appeared behind the trees. It didn't move forward, but its presence chilled her bones. "You need not follow the light to be great. Come when you are ready." Then the voice was gone. That night, Chima didn't sleep. The next day, when Kamara healed a feverish wildcat with just a touch, the entire forest seemed to sing. Even Ikenna raised his face to the wind, smiling. But Chima stood at a distance, her fists clenched. Kamara ran to her, excited. "Did you see? I healed it again." Chima forced a smile. "I saw." But in her heart she burned, not with joy, but with jealousy. And far off in the shadows, the voice whispered again. "When the time comes, choose your path." A sudden illness swept through the village of Obohaya like a wave in the night. One by one, the people fell sick, burning fevers, swelling joints, skin turning pale and cracked. The herbalist tried everything he knew. Nothing worked. Children wailed, elders moaned. The air smelled of worry. And then, one desperate voice cried, "Find the Hunchback twins. They are cursed. Or maybe they are the cure." Far within the sacred forest, Kamara felt a deep pull in her spirit. "Mama," she whispered. "She's calling for us." Ngozi, who had aged under the weight of their years in hiding, took the girl's hands. "Maybe it is time to go back." Ikenna, who had always warned them that the world was not ready, said nothing. He only nodded and handed them each a small pouch of blessed herbs. "You must go," he said. "But be wise. Not every eye sees with kindness." So, after 3 long years in the forest, Chima and Kamara returned to Obohia. They walked through the village gates like shadows from a forgotten tale. Children stared. Adults stepped back. Fear still lingered in the hearts of many. But desperation overpowered fear. Chief Udachukwu, who once threatened to banish them, now stood with bent back and watery eyes. "If you truly have the power, help us, please." Kamara stepped forward. Her hands glowed faintly. She kneeled beside a fevered child, crushed a mix of herbs, and touched the child's chest. Within moments, the child breathed easier. Her fever began to fade. Gasps filled the air. More sick villagers were brought. Kamara worked without rest, her spirit calm, her hands sure. Chima helped at first, mixing herbs, guiding people to shade. But inside her, the whisper had returned. "They worship her," the voice hissed. "They forgot you." Chima watched as people knelt before Kamara, praising her name. Some even called her spirit-touched, a child of the gods. That night, while Kamara slept in their old hut, Chima sat alone beneath the baobab tree. The moonlight fell on her like a cold spotlight. Her jaw clenched. "I healed too," she muttered. "But they don't see you," said the voice in the wind. "I could do more. Then do it." The next morning, a strange thing happened. 3 villagers who had already been healed by Kamara suddenly grew ill again, this time worse. Their fevers raged. Their eyes turned bloodshot. A rumor began to swirl. Maybe the girls brought the sickness. Whispers became fear again. The same old suspicion returned, but Ngozi stood tall in the village square. "Do not blame my daughters. They came to help." Still, doubt grew. That evening, Kamara found something strange in the healing herbs Chima had prepared. One was the wrong root. Not poisonous, but it would delay healing. It was no accident. "Chima," Kamara said gently, "did you switch the roots?" Chima's eyes flared. "You think I would do that?" Kamara didn't speak. Her silence said everything. Chima's heart pounded. "You don't trust me, just like them." "I love you, Chima," Kamara said softly. "But I need to know. Are you listening to something dark?" For a moment, Chima looked away. Then she whispered, "Maybe the darkness listens to me." Kamara's heart cracked. The chief called a meeting. Though he owed his life to Kamara, the elders were restless. "One twin helps. The other, we do not know her heart." Ngozi pleaded. She is still a child, hurt, but not evil. But Chima did not wait for judgment. That night, she slipped away, into the forest, into the arms of shadows, and from deep within the trees, the whisper grew louder. "Now your true path begins." The sun rose over Obohia without Chima. Kamara woke to an emptiness in the hut, a silence too heavy to ignore. Her sister's mat was untouched. Her basket of herbs was gone. Only a soft swirl of black ash remained near the door, as if someone, or something, had whispered her away in the night. "She's gone," Kamara whispered. Ngozi rushed out into the village square, shouting her daughter's name. But Chima had vanished into the depths of the sacred forest. She had chosen the path that no one could walk beside her. Kamara tried to focus on healing. She still had patience, and people were looking to her with hope. But her spirit was troubled. Each time she closed her eyes, she saw Chima's face, hurt, burning, betrayed. "Did I push her away?" Kamara asked her mother one evening. Ngozi placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "She chose her own path, my child. The heart goes where it listens." But it was not the end. 3 nights later, a storm swept over Obohia. Lightning cracked the sky in furious streaks, and thunder roared like angry drums. In the heart of the chaos, a figure stood at the village entrance, cloaked, in black vines, eyes glowing faintly red. It was Chima. But she was no longer the girl they remembered. She walked with quiet power. Her back still curved, but now it looked regal, almost like a serpent preparing to strike. Dark spirits slithered in her shadow. Behind her were wild creatures, wolves with eyes like embers, and crows circling above. The villagers screamed, "Witch! Cursed child! Hide your children!" But Chima only laughed. "You feared me before. Now you will understand why." Kamara ran into the rain, standing between her sister and the village. "Chima, please! This isn't you!" Chima's eyes softened, just for a moment. "It is me. The me that was never wanted, never chosen." "I never left you," Kamara cried. "You left me when they chose you," Chima snapped. Behind them, the sky cracked with lightning again. "I came not to destroy, but to show them that the rejected one has returned in power." Kamara raised her hands. "Then prove you are more than pain. Walk away. Let go." The two sisters stood there, rain falling between them like a curtain. Then Chima turned and vanished into the night, her shadows trailing behind her. She did not attack, but her message was clear. I am not finished. The next day, the elders gathered again. This is no longer a matter of healing, one said. Chima has become dangerous. We cannot allow her to return, said another. She has chosen the spirits of darkness. Kamara stood in silence, her eyes filled with tears. She is still my sister. Then you must protect this village from her, the chief declared. If she ever comes back, it will not be as one of us. Kamara bowed her head. I will not fight her, but I will stand between her and harm. Ngozi wept that night. I gave birth to twins, she sobbed. But now I have only one. But Kamara did not believe that. Deep in her heart, she believed her sister could still return. That somewhere behind the anger, the betrayal, and the dark whispers, the girl who once wove flower crowns still lived. And, far away beneath the blood moon, Chima stood alone in the sacred forest, surrounded by spirits that bowed before her. Let them crown her with praise, she whispered. I will return, not for love, but for reckoning. The bond had been broken, but fate was not finished. Years passed like drifting leaves in the wind. The village of Obohia changed, but its memory of Chima did not. Some still feared her return, others whispered that she had vanished into the underworld. But Kamara never stopped believing. She remained in Obohia, now a grown woman. Her gift of healing had grown even stronger. Villagers from far and wide came to her hut with ailments, and many returned singing songs of her mercy. Under her care, Obohia bloomed. New crops, healthy children, peaceful nights. Even the elders looked to her as a spiritual guide. But her heart was never fully at peace. Every night she would light a candle at the base of the baobab tree, whispering into the wind, Wherever you are, Chima, please come back. What she didn't know was that Chima had never truly gone. Deep within the shadows of the sacred forest, Chima had built a realm of her own. Spirits walked freely in her presence. Creatures of the dark bowed when she passed. She was feared, but never loved, and deep down, she felt it. One night, under the red light of a rare lunar eclipse, Chima stepped from the forest and began her journey back to Obohia. This time, she didn't bring shadows. She walked alone. Her once fiery eyes now looked tired. Her steps were heavy. When she reached the edge of the village, no one screamed. No one ran. Instead, a small child approached her, offering a piece of roasted yam. You look hungry, the child said. Chima took it with shaking hands. She hadn't tasted kindness in years. Kamara heard the murmurs and rushed out. Her breath caught when she saw her twin. Chima looked up. Kamara, they stood still, eyes locked, as if time had paused to allow their hearts to remember. Without another word, Kamara ran to her and embraced her tightly. Chima fell to her knees, weeping. I'm sorry, she sobbed. I let the darkness take me. I wanted to be seen, to be loved. Kamara held her close. You were always loved. You just couldn't feel it. The villagers slowly gathered, watching in awe. For the first time, they saw not a cursed girl, but a broken soul yearning to heal. Chief Udachukwu, now old and gray, stepped forward with his staff. The spirits have spoken through your return. We banished you in fear, but today we welcome you in peace. Chima was given a hut near Kamara's. She refused the praises and gifts. She only wanted quiet. Kamara continued her healing, but now Chima joined her, not with magic, but with humility. She swept floors, tended gardens, helped cook. Slowly, the village accepted her. One evening, Kamara sat beside the fire with Chima and their mother, Ngozi. Do you think the spirits have forgiven me? Chima asked. Ngozi smiled gently. The spirits may test us, but they never stop loving their children. Chima looked up at the stars. Maybe I was never meant to be feared. Kamara took her hand. Maybe you were meant to rise again. Andi, the day of the harvest festival, the elders honored both sisters before the entire village. To Kamara, the healer of the body, and to Chima, the healer of the soul. The crowd cheered. Chima blinked back tears. For the first time in her life, she felt whole.